What is up, investors? Jason here. So let's talk about inflation. Let's talk about how inflation currently is viewed by some of the elite investors out there, like Michael Burry, Cathie Wood, Paul Krugman. How are they viewing inflation right now? Are they stressing about inflation? Oh, as we know, inflation has just been absolutely insane, and it's been affecting the markets. It's been affecting the stock market. We're really seeing this within the tech stocks. When we look at NASDAQ, we can see how much inflation fears have affected NASDAQ. It's affected the crypto market. Look at the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price has gone down significantly from where it was at its all-time highs back in November 2021. Look at the housing market. Look at the interest rates. Look at all these things that are currently having a lot of fear right now, and we can definitely see it when we look over at the market. Now let's talk about how is inflation being viewed by these three elites. How is Cathie Wood, Michael Burry, and Paul Krugman viewing inflation, as well as let's talk a little bit about what can we expect, because we're going to be getting the CPI information here soon, the Consumer Price Index information on July 13th. We have that to look forward to on Wednesday. Now I'm making this currently on Monday, July 11th. So let's get into some details about what we could possibly expect to come in the market. So as we get to it, if you don't mind, please do me a huge favor. Please be sure to smash the story annihilate or gently press that like button to help me out with the algorithm. Help spread this content to more people that might find it interesting. And subscribe if you have not already. Let's get to it. So look at NASDAQ, looking at what we've gotten in 2022. Now, there's a lot that's been going on in 2022, as we know, inflation fears and geopolitical issues with war and such. Just the world is in a much different place now than it was in 2021. Now, January 1st, 2021, the market was just in accelerated growth throughout the whole year of 2021, where at this moment, if we look at where we're currently at, well, we're at prices of the market that we were at the peak of pandemic of 2020. We've lost more than a whole year within the market in the bear market. And the thing here is that the pattern that we were following with NASDAQ throughout the second quarter of 2022, where we look at that pattern, we look at where we're at currently, we're outside of this pattern from where we're at through 2022. Now, of course, it doesn't really mean much because, as we can see, there's still a bit of bearish activity. But we did break out of this pattern already, and this was due to that jobs report that we had seen. That positive jobs report was very beneficial within the stock market. So that did break the pattern from what we were seeing through the second quarter of 2022. The third quarter of 2022, we don't know what it really has to offer. We're getting ready to find out what does the third quarter of 2022 have in store for us, because we know we're going to get the CPI data here very soon, and that's going to be the big determining factor of what we can expect for the rest of the year. What we can expect for the market from that point on, and that's the information that we really need. Now, looking at the rate of inflation, looking at the CPI data that we have so far, we know already that the first half of 2022, the inflation rate is going to be around 8%, because, well, that's already a given, because we're seeing inflation numbers between 7.5% and 8.6%. So what are we going to see in June? Are we going to see inflation numbers above 8.6%, or are we going to see inflation numbers lower than that? And if we look at the rate of inflation, if we look at what the market has done when we were seeing that insane bull rally in 2021, how much the market was just quickly moving upwards at that point, look at the rate of inflation that we were having. Inflation was going out of control. I mean, if we look at previous inflation numbers, the inflation rates were hovering between 1 and 2% at a normal time. Now, seeing inflation numbers in 2021 that were above 6%, and 7%. That is insane. And 2021 was just a crazy year for the market. And that's why now everything is catching up to us in 2022. Now, according to this Market Insider article, Michael Burry expects that American consumers to virtually exhaust their savings by the end of this year as they continue to save less and borrow more to cover higher food, fuel, and housing costs. The investor of The Big Short fame predicts consumer spending will decline as a result, while retailers will slash prices, get rid of their bloated inventories, slowing inflation in the coming months. Now, Cathie Wood sees the market as being set up for deflation. The ARK Invest chief noted the chronic supply chain issue and Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine have fostered higher inflation this year. However, she asserted that even elite retailers such as Walmart and Target are struggling to get rid of excess inventory, raising the prospect of widespread price cuts and deflation in the coming months. And Paul Krugman, the economist and columnist who won the Nobel Prize for economics in 2008, pointed to Treasury bond data suggesting investors aren't expecting inflation to remain elevated for long. Now, Paul Krugman has been very active on Twitter talking about inflation and kind of poking at mainstream media, who's been very fearful about what has been going on. Now, in these recent tweets by Paul Krugman, one that is definitely worth highlighting, this was posted an hour ago from the time that I'm making this right now, and it says that he's somewhat shocked by how many news reports focus on one-year numbers, which everyone knows is basically the flagged price of gasoline, and ignore the important news on medium term. He said, I guess runaway inflation is the narrative, not to be challenged. It's definitely worth checking out Paul Krugman out on Twitter if you guys are not following him. He has a point of view that is different than what you're going to usually hear in the mainstream media. He's very blunt, very to the point. And I mean, come on, guy won a Nobel Prize for economics. So interesting stuff, worth following, worth listening to. And I'm sure it can bring a lot of use to people that want to learn more about what's going on in the market. But anyways, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about these three opinions, Michael Burry, Cathie Wood, and Paul Krugman? I'd like to know. I'd also like to hear your guys' thoughts on the CPI data. What do you guys think the consumer price index is going to reflect? Do you think that inflation is going to continue going out of control? I'd like to know that as well. So with that being said, please like, share, comment, subscribe. New content coming out all the time. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I will see you all in the next one coming very soon.